How you guys doing? How many of you guys were at camp? I think almost all of you. I'm seeing lots of familiar faces from camp this week. We had an amazing camp, by the way. Big shout out to Abigail Treese, our children's pastor. Awesome, awesome camp. Super fun. Well, guys, we are going to be talking about generosity. Can anybody tell me what generosity means? Samuel? Giving. Yeah, it's giving. Is it just like, here you go? Is that very generous? Here you go. Well, if I have to, I'll give it to you, right? That's not very generous. What would generous? It's like giving like lots and just like pouring out, right? I looked it up. It says when you give more of something than what somebody wants, needs, or expects. That's generous, isn't it? Giving out even more. Do you guys know anybody who's generous? You know generous people? God is definitely generous, isn't he? Yeah. Is that what you're going to say? Oh, what were you going to say? You knew somebody. Can you guys tell me someone who's generous? Yeah? They keep keeping you alive. Your mom and dad keep you alive, and that's very generous of them. Way to go, Daniel and Kim. Good job. They do a lot more than that, too, I know, don't they? Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Yeah? Your brother is generous. That's awesome when a brother is generous. Yes? Your sister? That's so great when family is generous to each other, isn't it? Well, like what Zoe said, God is the most generous person that I know. He is super generous. And in Romans 3:32, it says, God did not spare his own son. He gave him for us all. Then won't he also freely give us everything else? No. My wife is generously telling me I need to put my readers on so I can see. It's probably true. Oh, what did I say? Oh, it's Romans 8:32 for those who need to look that up. It's Romans 8:32. Anyway, guys, God is super generous, and he gives us, if he gives you his only son, like, is he going to hold back anything else? No, he's going to give you everything, isn't he? He's extremely generous. So, obviously, this is a big value of God, isn't it? That's why it's one of our values here, is because it's such a big value to God. But how can we be generous? That's the question I had. And so I was thinking about this, and one of the ways, just real practically, if I can dig in my giant bucket here and find something, I mean, we can be generous with our money, right? We can, yeah. Can you have it? It's actually Andrew's because I didn't have any cash with me, so you'd have to ask him. But actually, we're actually going to give you guys 4 quarters, all of you, if you come back up at the end, you know, like as a prize. But that's to be generous because we want you guys to give that away, okay? But yeah, you can be generous with money, and that's a place that we always think of when we think of generous, isn't it? But what about this? With our time, being generous with our time. You don't have a watch? Well, you don't have to have. Oh, you already have a watch. Okay. You don't have to have a watch to have time because everybody has time that they could give to someone else. Don't they? Yeah. And what about, do you guys have any toys? You can share your toys, right? And that can be a super generous thing to do, especially like your favorite toy that you just want to hold on to, right? We all have those. I love my car. That's my toy. But I can be generous with that. I can let my kids borrow it, and that's an awesome thing to do. And they can go places with it. What's this? A brush. I don't know if you guys ever use these, but you can like scrub things with them. You can clean. You can do things for other people, right? Oh, I'm just not even going to repeat that. You do that too? Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to like do things, and not just like, did you clean your room today? If you clean your room, is that very generous? It's a little bit generous, but what if you go and clean your brother's room? That's like God level generous, isn't it? Yeah. Like that's doing something that's not just like for me and because I want to be obedient, but it's like I'm going above and beyond. What about this? Do I have it upside down? Nope, there we go. I don't even know what this says. This is to represent our words. We can be generous. Adults are getting into this big time. I'm loving this. Everybody's loving it. We can be super generous with kind and encouraging words, can't we? Would it be generous to say, I don't like that shirt? That's not very generous, is it? We're using, maybe you might even use lots of words with that. But what would be, hey, Luke, can you tell me something generous you can say with your words? Oh, I'm putting you on the spot. What would be something else? Something besides, I don't like that shirt. You cleaned all of their rooms? That's amazing. High five. Way to be generous. Super good. You did too? High five. I'm going to have to give high fives to everybody. It's awesome. But you guys, you can be generous with your words, and I know a lot of you are. I heard even at camp this week, a lot of you guys being kind and generous with your words. But that's a great way to express generosity. All right? So, you guys going to be generous with your words and with your time and with your money and all the good stuff this week? You can do that? All right. All right, you guys can head on back. Don't forget to come up at the end.